What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dean, aka the Blue Crusader, and today we're back for another Minecraft video, but I'm going to be doing a mod showcase again in this video because it's been quite a few months since I've done an individual Minecraft mod showcase, and the last video that we did on a Minecraft mod was the My Nautica mod, which was a Subnautica mod for Minecraft, and that video did crazy well and a lot of people really enjoyed it, so I thought I'd do another individual mod showcase, but I thought it had to be a pretty special mod. So we're going to be reviewing the Parzi Star Wars mod. Now this is a really awesome mod which adds Star Wars content from across all of the movies in the saga, from all of the different eras, and there's so much content here that's so awesome that I just wanted to show it to you guys. So let's get into this mod showcase and let me show you how to play the mod, cover all the features, and let's just get into it. Okay, so we're going to jump into the Parzi Star Wars mod in this video, guys. So there's a few things to note before we jump in. We have actually already created a world here, so I'm just going to drop into the world. Now there's a few things to note when we actually play. So the first set of things which we actually need to do when we first run the mod is we actually need to go into peaceful mode. Now the reason why you want to go into peaceful mode when you actually play with this mod is because all mobs in the Star Wars mod will still actually load into the world even if you're on peaceful. Now the only pro side of putting it on peaceful is actually to disable all the vanilla mods like skeletons, creepers, and all the tough mobs which attack you at nighttime to not spawn. So it basically prevents all of the bad vanilla mobs from spawning, so you can kind of have better immersion when actually playing with the Star Wars mod. So that's the reason why you first of all want to play on peaceful mode. And the next thing which we want to cover is actually the hyperdrive. So this mod has a set of different hyperdrives in the game, and basically these are used to visit all of the planets in the game. So I'm going to briefly cover all the hyperdrives and then tell you about what the planets are. So as you can see, I have a set of different things. So I have the hyperdrive block, as you can see, which shows a picture of Earth, and it actually shows the surrounding planets that we can actually see in the different areas of the game. So we have the outer rim, the mid rim, inner rim, the colonies, core, and the deep core. So this is like a galactic space chart, and you can see there's like an animated X-wing on here and stuff, and we can actually click on some of these islands and we can kind of take a look at them. So it shows the information about each island, what mobs are there, what vehicles you can find, and basically what you can do on there, as well as some of the materials. So that's what you can do in this hyperdrive block, and usually I'm pretty sure these hyperdrives are actually in the spaceships themselves. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the different hyperdrives. These are all the planets we can visit. So if we just jump into the creative inventory, we have the Earth hyperdrive, we have Tatooine, Hoth, Yavin 4, Space, Endor, Dagobah, Ilum, Kashyyyk, and the normal hyperdrive engine and motivator. So these are all the planets we can visit. So obviously if you've seen the movies or seen any of the cartoons like Clone Wars and Rebels, you'll probably know what most of these planets actually are. And the reason why you want to use hyperdrives first when you jump into a game in creative mode is because it will actually speed up the loading of the various areas when you do actually decide to play. So as you can see, we can kind of go around and find all these items we were talking about before, and you have to be in a spaceship to jump to all these planets in the actual game. Now another thing what we want to configure in the options is actually you can change the render distance down to 8 chunks. Now this is pretty important because it actually lets you play the game on low-end PCs if you don't have very good graphics or very good hardware. I'm going to keep it on 12 because it seems to run pretty fine for me, and remember this is on 1.7.10, but if you have 4 gigabytes of RAM, that's where the game will perform at its best. So at least 4 gigabytes of RAM, and it's recommended to have an 8 render distance. Now having a quest log in your inventory will sometimes prevent you from having to buy or actually earn the hyperdrives, depending where you are actually in the mod's progress, which I'm going to cover a little bit later. So as you can see, if I just right click on these hyperdrives, they don't really do anything. You can see we just right click and we can't actually go anywhere. So when we click the planets, it won't let us do anything. So what we can do is let's just spawn a spaceship. So as you can see right now, I'm flying an X-wing ship which I spawned. If you shift and right click on the ship when you're outside of it, it will show you the same star chart which I showed you on that block at the start. So over here we can click on the different planets we need to go to or want to go to, and then you can select which planets you actually need to go to. Now as you can see, we do actually have a ship over here. What you're going to need in survival mode, and probably creative too, is this quest log. If you don't have a quest log, you won't be able to travel to space or use spaceships, so when you drop into survival and you try and use the hyperdrives, they just won't work. So you're going to need this quest log, which you can make out of a book and some chromium dust. Chromium is one of the ores which you should be able to find on Earth. I will go over the ores a little bit later in the video, but basically you can craft it out of one of the new ores on Earth along with a book, and then you have a quest log. So that's one of the pre-requirements. You can't just jump into space in this mod. You do actually need to do a few things, and then obviously you can craft all these hyperdrives as well. Now these hyperdrives are only craftable in survival mode, so for an example the Tatooine one is the only one you can actually craft, and that's made out of the sand block, which you can literally find on a beach anywhere, and also the hyperdrive engine, which is made out of various other things like a titanium chromium ingot. For an example, titanium is found on Earth and so is chromium, so you can make these out of the different blocks in the game. I would recommend using what I'm doing and just using not enough items so you can actually view all the recipes, otherwise it's going to be a little bit confusing. And then you need hyperdrive motivator and containment field. So here's a few ideas of the recipes. Now once you do actually have these hyperdrives, you can actually then go out of the galaxy providing you have the quest log. Now you don't just right click on the ground like some of the older versions of the mod, you do actually need to get inside a spaceship. So if we jump in a spaceship for an example, we can press the U key on our keyboard and this lets us access the star chart. So then we can press Tatooine and we can click on jump to light speed, and as you can see the spaceship will go a little bit faster, and if we press Y on the keyboard we can actually go a lot faster on the keyboard, and then press jump to light speed. You have to program the course first on the nav and then press jump to light speed, and it'll jump you straight into light speed to the galaxy and then teleport you to the new dimension. So kind of like Galacticraft, it will actually send you to the new dimension, but in a different way. So it's like Galacticraft in the sense that you can actually explore stuff. And I got killed on the spawn, it spawned me in a bad place, but it will actually then drop your items. So now we have the Earth hyperdrive, the Dagobah hyperdrive, and any items which I actually brought with me. One thing to note in this game is your quest log doesn't drop when you die. This is really important to keep it. I will cover this a little bit later in the video. But now we've basically done all of the beginning steps to actually start off the mod. Now we're actually in Tatooine right now, close by to Mos Eisley, which is one of the main places in Star Wars, which is in episode 4. And this is the main place in Tatooine and the main hub world where we actually start off this mod at. So the planets in the game, like I said before, is Earth, which is the main galactic trade hub of this mod. Tatooine, which we're on right now, which is the desert planet in A New Hope. Yavin 4, which is the jungle rainforest, I believe from episode 5. Where it's the headquarters of the Rebel Alliance. Then you can go to Endor, which is the forest moon from Return of the Jedi, where the Empire are held out. You can go to Hoth, which is that snowy tundra planet in episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, where the rebels have the Echo base. And then you can also go to Ilum, which is an Arctic planet that you may not be aware of if you've only seen the Star Wars movies. That's basically a place where all the Jedi go to get their kyber crystals to actually create their lightsabers. So that's in the expanded universe and the Clone Wars material. And then Dagobah obviously is from Return of the Jedi, where Yoda exiles himself to. That's that swamp planet. And there's two other places you can go to. The first one is Kashyyyk, which is the jungle planet which is home to the Wookiees that you might have seen off episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. And then also Wild Space, which is the unknown region of space, which is basically littered by asteroids and it's not been fully mapped. I think the hyperdrive to go to that is just literally the space hyperdrive, although I'm not entirely sure. So that's all of the places to visit in the game. So now let's cover the ores. Now that we're already in Tatooine and we can actually begin in the mod, let's cover a few of the items. So let's cover the ores which we can actually get inside the game. Okay, so here are all of the main ores in the game. So the first one is titanium, which spawns on Earth and Tatooine. Then chromium, which looks basically exactly like diamonds and vanilla. This spawns on Earth and Tatooine also. Then there is rubindum, which spawns on Earth. Then exonium, which is a Hoth ore. Helicite, which is from Endor. Thorolide, which is also on Endor. Then we have calarium, which is a Yavin 4 ore. cortosis from Kashyyyk, and this diatium, which is from Ilum. Now, there's quite a few different things on Ilum. Not only do we have this diatium on Ilum, we actually have a whole bunch of other stuff you can actually discover there as well. Now, this stuff on Ilum is really important. So, not only do we have all these ores, but we also have these special types of ores which represent the kyber crystals. So you can see these kyber crystals are in multiple different colours. I'm just going to show a few of them being placed down. As you can see, they're all really colourful, and these are going to be the colours which you would actually use for your lightsaber. So as you can see, here's the actual crystals which you would actually get when you mine the ores, and you will take these back and use them for lightsaber crafting, which we're going to cover a little bit later. So there's a lot of blocks in the game. These kyber crystals are also found on Ilum as well, and not only are kyber crystals found on Ilum, but the focusing crystal ore and the focusing crystal is also found on Ilum too. So anything which is important enough to be for lightsaber crafting is found on Ilum, and the rest of these ores are from the respective planets which I mentioned before. There is one ore that I did miss though, which is Ironite ore, which should be the final ore that's in the mod. So now we've gone over the ores, let's cover a few mobs in this mod. So obviously we're going to jump into Tatooine, what to do and all the content here, but let's just take a look at some of the mobs in the mod first of all. So I'm going to go through a few of the mobs right now, and I'm not going to talk too much about what the mobs are, who they are or where they're located. That should be pretty self-explanatory if you're into Star Wars, but I just want to show you some of the variations of the mobs included in the mod. So as you can see, we have quite a few different types of stormtroopers. Some of them have the helmets on, some of them don't. We have things like scout troopers, snow troopers, AT-AT pilots or TIE pilots, Imperial officers, different pilots. We have different types of Endor rebels, Hoth rebels, rebel pilots. Obviously, they will also fight each other because it is like a civil war. This is the Galactic Civil War. Then we have different types of rebel pilots, which are based on the vehicles, like the Y-wing pilot or the A-wing pilot. Then we have rebel workers and technicians from the hangars. And then we have bounty hunters, like Boba Fett over here, who is in his armor, which looks super cool. We have Wookiees from Kashyyyk, Tusken Raiders from Tatooine, where we are, Jawas, Ewoks, Tauntauns, which looks super cool, Banthas, which you may have seen roaming around already, Wampas from Hoth, Gamorrean Guards from Tatooine, along with the Dewbacks. These Dewbacks are the lizard mounts that the Sand Troopers ride that you may have seen from the movies. The Tatooine villagers, these are just normal guys that hang around Mos Eisley and Tatooine. They're just the natives and they're completely neutral and they won't attack you. And that's it. That's all the mobs inside the mod. And all of these mobs obviously spawn on different planets. I'm just spawning them all here just to kind of give you an idea of what everything looks like. Now, you may have seen some of the structures on Tatooine right now as we're walking through, but there's a lot of different structures on all of the other planets. Now, it would be kind of hard to venture to every single planet and show you every single structure on each planet because I'd have to spend hours finding all of them. But I'm going to leave a little video clip on the screen right now, scrolling through the webpage, showing you all of the structures which are actually in the mod. These structures are obviously found on every other planet, and they offer a lot of content to explore, which is really fun. So let's go over a few of the special blocks in the mod. So the first special block is the Bacta tank. This is the thing that Luke floats in when he's been injured after fighting Darth Vader, for an example. And you may have seen Luke floating in this on the Hoth Echo base in the movies. And basically, if you jump in it, you get spun around 2 times and basically just get healed. So this is basically just a healing block, and it removes all active effects like bad potion effects on you and cures you. And basically you can enter and exit this block. Then there's the antenna, okay? So this block actually requires a little bit of space to place. This block needs fixing. So what you would do is you'd use an item in the game called Hydro Spanner, and when you right click on it, this actually fixes this antenna block. You saw the actual front of it opened up, and then this can actually be used. So that's how to set up that block, and when you right click on it, it does actually show an interface here, and we can kind of change the X, Y, and Z values to kind of rotate the area around it. This is a really cool block. I don't know how this specifically works this way, but basically you can kind of use it for navigating the area for security purposes and kind of just getting an idea of the blocks which are around it. This is basically a fully fledged changeable position diagram of the current chunk that is placed in. So this just shows the one chunk that the block is actually placed in. Kind of pointless, but also really cool. Then we have hollow tables. So we have small, medium, large, and the war block. Okay, so this really depends what it's for. This just shows the surrounding area yet again, and it really depends. You can put this in a control room to kind of plan a fight or something like that, or you can put it in a small base which shows one of those cool graphics like in the movies. And basically this just creates a 3D topographical map of the surrounding area that it's placed in. And these are the 4 different sizes which you can actually see in my inventory. And by right clicking on the block, we can actually change some information about it. So we can go into light mode, we can go into dark mode, we can change the actual offset of all of the different locations, and it will kind of customize where the holo table and holographic is actually placed. So there's a lot of customizability with that, and it's just kind of another cool block you can use for decoration. Then one of the ones that people are going to be super excited for is the Lightsaber Forge itself. When we right click on this, we can forge our own lightsaber using various components. So we can go over the hilts, we can have Darth Maul's hilt for an example to have a double-sided one. We could use some of these awesome other dual-sided hilts. We could use this Count Dooku style curved hilt. And there's so many different hilts from the movies. For an example, there's Anakin's hilt, which we could also use. There's a lot of different ones. And then we can go to blades and we can select the blade color and make it red. There's some presets here, but you can actually change the RGB sliders, so you could make your own custom color that's not on there, for an example. And you could just kind of customize your lightsaber. You can go in options to toggle the blade, change the various secondary hilt textures, make the blade long or short. We can make it waterproof. I don't know why it wouldn't be. And change a few different things and press save. And then it will actually give you a lightsaber, which is pretty cool. So now we actually have my lightsaber over here, which I can just pick up and use. Now I don't think it works like this in survival mode. Basically, you build lightsabers here in survival mode, but you have to have components to actually construct them. The only reason it worked like that is because I'm in creative mode, so I can kind of mess around with things. And obviously this lightsaber is extremely overpowered, so I don't really think it's fair on these citizens to just one-shot them, but that's actually pretty cool. Along with the Lightsaber Forge, you also have the Crystal Compressor. So basically, this block takes 3 synthetic crystal shards and it makes 1 full crystal. So, as you can see, we have Kyber crystal here, and we can just plop them all in these slots, and then it will take it away, and that's how it's supposed to work. So basically, you would put them in all these 3 slots, and then, after doing it like I did, there'll be kind of like a charging meter here, and eventually it will actually compact them into 1 main crystal, which you're going to also use for lightsaber crafting too. So everything in this mod all has a purpose and is super important and useful. Then you have base doors. So for an example, these, which are kind of like those hangar doors which you see in the movies too. Now I don't know how on earth I'm actually going to break this. You have to break it in a specific place. But they open and close and you can walk through them, and obviously if you go further away, after a while they should also automatically close. And there's a few different types of these. So you can see these kind of rebel blast doors, and then also these imperial ones like what you'd find on Endor for an example. So some really cool blocks in this mod, guys, that are really useful. Then you have all of the vehicle sensors. So these sensor blocks basically are spawner blocks for vehicles in the mod. Now you can see they have like a really weird texture because you're not really supposed to see these. These are basically used in the structures in the mod to have an infinite amount of repopulating ships which spawn on the planet. So you're never actually going to see these. These blocks are going to be invisible. They're just so the mod can actually control the spawning of vehicles in hangars and bases. 2 other blocks are the gun rack. So we could actually put a weapon on this gun rack, and then also practice targets, which are based on the faction. So as you can see, we have 2 rebel practice targets, and obviously you can fire at each target. This is just a target practice pistol I'm using, and you can fire at each target, and as you can see, it doesn't really do anything other than just practice your aim. But the gun rack, you basically right click with a gun in your hand, and you actually put the gun on the rack, and then when you right click on it again with an open hand, then you get the gun back. As you can see, this Blast Tech heavy blaster rifle, if I right click on the gun rack, it will go on the rack, and then if I right click again, I'll actually get it back. So this is just a way to actually store your weapons if you have multiple through the mod. Now if you use a real weapon, these target dummies can actually be fully shot down, and then you have to right click on them to actually repeat them. So now that we've gone through blocks, the next important step is to actually cover the quest lines in the game. So the quest lines in this mod are super important and super interesting, but there's a lot of things that you need to learn about them. So basically, there's a few different optional quest lines in the mod. You have the Rebel Alliance, the Galactic Empire, the Jedi, and the Sith. So there's 4 different quest lines you can actually take within this mod. And basically, each of these quest lines, they all have their own perks, they all have their own progression systems, structures for each faction, vehicles, and their respective characters that you can go talk to. So basically, every quest line will begin in this place where we are right now, which is Tatooine. So within Mos Eisley, which is this city, you can begin all the quest lines, and all the quest givers are shown by their faction symbol on the head. So basically, you just would go around and walk around Tatooine until you find the right characters you need to talk to. And obviously, each building is different. Some of them are open and don't have anybody inside them, but some of them will actually have faction leaders in them, and it will show a little icon above the head. As you can see over here, these characters have a little icon over the head too, which means that they have a special role in the game. Now these are obviously just vendors that we can buy things from, like all of these items for an example, by buying them with credits, but this is the exact same system. So the vendors have icons on the head, but also the quest givers do too. Basically, you find the faction leader you want to actually locate and begin the quest line, and they'll give you a hyperdrive item which actually lets you visit their planet. Now, the ship we used to jump into space at the start of the video to this planet, I'm just going to take all these credits while no one's looking. The ship we actually used to visit Tatooine is the ship that you actually find on Tatooine. I was just showing you that as an example on how to use space travel. So, we used a T-16 Skyhopper spaceship to actually visit Tatooine. Now, the way you would actually jump to another planet using one of these hyperdrives that they give you is you would actually use the T-16 Skyhopper. Now, as you can see, this guy will sell a few things like land speeders, or raised speeder, which is a swoop speeder. So you can buy different things from all the vendors here. There's a lot of vendors in Mos Eisley that sell different things. Even these hyperdrives here, you can actually buy them from Tatooine as well, and they only cost pretty low in terms of credits. It will tell you how many credits they cost in the top left, and obviously you can take some credits from people's houses, and in creative mode you can basically just buy them for free. So there's a lot of vendors in Tatooine that you would use, and basically to find a T-16 Skyhopper, you will actually have to venture outside of Mos Eisley, okay? And the way to find these is you find them kind of like in the wasteland, or you find them in camps outside in the desert. Now, it would take a while for me to find them, so I'm just going to spawn one again to show you what they look like, but basically that's what you would do to actually locate them. So, the Skyhopper is basically this. Basically just a neutral ship which just is really fast and is basically from Tatooine that you can use to fly, and this is what you're going to use the hyperdrives with in the exact same fashion I showed you earlier. So basically the Jedi questline begins on Tatooine, but not inside the city. You have to find the Jedi hut on the outskirts of Tatooine to actually begin that storyline. And when you actually find the hut, there's actually a Jedi Master in there, and he will begin you on the Jedi questline. Now, the Sith questline you actually unlock a little bit later. Basically, you have to build a Jedi lightsaber, you have to reach level 35 in the progression system in the mod as a Jedi, and then you can choose the dark side and renounce your Jedi values and become a Sith, and you become a Sith in Mos Eisley once you reach all of those pre-requirements. So there's quite a lot of steps to become a Sith in this mod, but you can just become a Jedi straight out. Now, there's a lot of vendors here which you can buy blasters at as well, which is pretty cool. There's even places like cantinas and small bars we can go inside. And obviously, if you want to change faction in this mod, for an example, if you're already a rebel and you decide to actually become a Imperial, the only way to do that is to go to your faction leader and talk to them, and then you can renounce, so for an example, become that faction, or denounce, meaning leave, and declare that you're no longer part of that faction so you can join the opposite one. So if you're role-playing as an Imperial and you decide to join the Rebels, that's basically how you would do it. So there's a lot of things in the mod which are kind of like the movies in that respect. So basically, the faction leaders which you find in Tatooine, they actually consist of one recruit, or recruiter, because they recruit you into the faction, and then they have 4 standard quest givers which are located at their faction bases. So you would actually go to those quest givers and start the quest line from those 4 different mobs inside their bases on the other planets. So let's spawn this Skyhopper and let's try and jump to another planet. So we're going to open our star map here and we're going to take a look at the other planets. Now, Hoth, for an example, we can program the navcom here. First of all, we're just going to spawn all these hyperdrives because we're in creative mode, but we're going to spawn all the hyperdrives, and we're just going to go to Hoth for an example. So basically, Hoth is the Rebel space base, which is located at Echo Base. We're going to jump to Hoth, just to give you an example of what these other planets are like when you actually jump to them. Now, obviously, if you have the right hyperdrive, sometimes it will take you directly to their base. We just hop to it without actually being recruited or being part of the quest line, so you might actually need to find the Rebel base when you actually get here. But this is what Hoth looks like, for an example. This is what one of the other planets looks like. This looks really nice. It's just basically like a vanilla Minecraft snow biome with Tauntauns walking around. And this is obviously where the faction base would be for the Rebel Alliance. Now, there's quartermasters in all of these faction bases, so these serve as the faction merchants. So as you saw, the merchants in Tatooine, where we could buy all the weapons, buy all the different items with credits, it functions exactly the same here. So here is a base, for an example, so I'm going to go inside this structure. But basically, the quartermasters inside these Rebel bases will actually buy things from you. Now, this particular base is actually an Imperial base, but they won't attack me, because right now I'm actually neutral. So if you want to buy things from these faction quartermasters, you basically can buy them, but you have to progress in the quest system to unlock more tiers of items, and that's how you do it. So these guys would sell guns, armor, items, and planetary hyperdrives, the ones that we've spawned that you actually need to get legitimately when you play survival mode. So let's talk to this guy, okay? So this guy is a quest giver, and you have to complete the assignment before returning here. So if you just jump to the planet in creative mode, for an example, without any recruitment into that faction, they won't attack you because you're not part of the Rebels or any other faction at the moment, but you can't actually accept any of the quests until you actually get recruited. So you're going to have to do the requirement on Tatooine first, like I showed you before you can actually go to these other planets. And technically you wouldn't be able to go here anyway unless you did that, because there's no legitimate way of jumping to this planet without actually getting recruited, because that's how they give you the hyperdrive item. But this is just a look into one of the Hoth bases. This is the Imperial specific one. So on all the planets there's usually a faction base from both factions. Obviously Hoth is a Rebel base, so you would expect the Rebel base to be here. But this is obviously the specific Imperial base. As you can see, these guys have symbols above the head. We have Steve here, who will actually sell you pilot body armor, for an example. And I have more than 60 credits, or 64 credits. If I was in survival mode, I wouldn't have been able to buy those. It's only because we're in creative that we can actually buy all these sets. Now, it's actually really cool, though, because you can buy armor sets from these guys. And you can see I have Stormtrooper armor here, which looks really weird on my Minecraft skin. But we also have ATSTs. So if we jump into third-person mode, we can actually use these ATSTs here, which are actually on base. So there's a lot of vehicles on base too, a lot of soldiers. We have one of these satellites, which I showed you earlier. And through here we have speeder bikes. And as you can see, I will go over some of the more land and air vehicles later. But this is the Imperial speeder bike, which we can actually take from the base. There's a lot of different things you can do on the planets. And to keep track of all the quests when you do actually begin the quest in this mod, you're going to need the quest log in your inventory, which I have over here. And as you can see, right now we're not in survival mode, so the quest log's kind of pointless, but that item, the only purpose it serves is just to store all the data. And that's super important because you need to craft this before traveling into space, like I said before, because it won't let you. And all of the game data is stored in here, so if you lose this item, which would be kind of hard because it doesn't actually get lost when you die, if you drop this item in the water, if you lost it, or just accidentally deleted it out of your inventory, then you're basically just going to be messed up for the rest of your time playing in this mod, because it literally has all your quests in, and losing it means that you'll have to restart all of your quest lines, lose your rank, and all the faction progress, as well as any hyperdrive items that would usually be kept in your inventory will probably vanish too. So this is super important. And also when you switch allegiance to a different faction, it will actually use the quest log to actually switch the data to that faction, and it will wipe all the old data from the other faction. So you would have to start again if you hadn't already completed that faction's quest line before switching. So it's really important the quest log is an item, so keep it safe when playing with a mod. So I'm going to jump through a few of the weapons in the game. So let's first talk about the types of weapons, and then let me show you some of the weapons. So there's weapons from all the different eras in this mod. Basically, there's blasters and there's lightsabers. So some weapons are dropped, and some of them are bought from the different faction quartermasters, or some of the vendors on Tatooine, which I showed you also. And each tier of weapon offers more damage, and of course, pistols are a lot weaker than the rifles in this mod. Now, lightsabers are really interesting too. So let me just show you some kind of lightsaber. As you can see, we have a lightsaber over here. To open it, we block with right click. To open it, we press the shift key in some versions of the mod, or in certain versions of the mod, you press the O key, and that toggles the lightsaber blade. Now, one thing to note is when you put it away and then take it back out, it will still be out the next time you draw it. So if you kind of want that cool style of having to draw your lightsaber every time, you would obviously sheath it, put it away, and then take it out again. Now, the interesting thing, which I can't actually show you because I'm not playing on multiplayer, is you do actually get to deflect blaster bullets. So I'm not sure if I can just spawn some kind of enemy and attack him. I'm not sure if that's how it works. But let's just spawn a bounty hunter and see if he will attack us. Okay, he doesn't have a weapon. Let's try and spawn someone with a weapon. Maybe a stormtrooper or something. Okay, this guy has a weapon. Let's punch him and go into survival mode. Okay, punch. Is he going to attack us? He's pretty neutral right now, so I can't show you. But basically, if he would attack us, you would right click and you can actually deflect all of the blaster attacks that people fire at you in this mod. So the lightsabers actually have a purpose. And not only this, but you can also block lightsaber attacks from other players and clash, just like in the films. So it's a really advanced Minecraft mod in terms of the actual weaponry and lightsabers. Okay, so let's go over a few of the weapons. So we have tons of weapons in this mod. We have things like Ewok spears, Gamorrean guard axes. We have different kinds of pistols and blasters, like the Stormtrooper DH-17, Han Solo's pistol, Boba Fett's rifle, some rifles from the new Star Wars Battlefront games. We have tons of lightsabers over here, which are all labelled. Now, these lightsabers aren't actually labelled after the Jedi that holds them, but they're obviously based off all the iconic movie lightsabers. So we have curved ones, we have double-sided ones, we have ones from Inquisitors. We even have, I believe this is the Darksaber. I've not tested this one out yet. We have Anakin's and Obi-Wan's and all these different cool... Oh no, this is the Darksaber. And all these cool iconic lightsabers from movies. So we have this curved one, this really nice one. We just have tons of lightsabers. This is a blue one, a green one, purple, which is Mace Windu's, and tons of different types of lightsabers. And obviously here, the Darksaber, which is possibly one of the coolest things from this mod. Okay, the Darksaber was obviously wielded by Pre Vizsla in the Clone Wars, and then obviously the Moff in the Mandalorian actually wielded this too. And this is a really cool iconic weapon with a lot of lore in Mandalore. So there's really cool stuff in the mod. So let's talk about how to level up in the mod. So how do we level up in the Parzi Star Wars mod? Now, the way to level up in this mod is you have to gather the same type of XP that you would in Minecraft survival mode in vanilla. So as you can see above our items, you can see we have a certain XP bar which is in green. If you've played Minecraft, you know exactly what this is. But basically this is the same kind of system in the Star Wars mod. So each level gets harder than the last one, and when you level up it shows in the chat as you advance, and obviously with more XP becomes more power. So to access the Force GUI system in this mod, you basically press the V key in game, and that explains a little bit more about the mod. The only way you can actually access this is if you start the Jedi quest line and if you have the quest log in your inventory. So obviously I don't have the quest log right now, but you'd need the quest log and you'd also need the Jedi. So as you can see, this is the Jedi, and if we right click on it, it says fulfill your destiny. I've been waiting a long time for you. You must go to the Dagobah system. There is someone there who will help you fulfill your destiny. You must make haste. The Empire's spies are everywhere. So this is one of the NPCs you first find. And then obviously Dagobah, that's just Yoda. So I'm just going to spawn that guy just quickly. And you would talk to Yoda in the mod. And then he says, you've completed your assignment. You have not. Return only when you are finished. So we have to actually go to the real Yoda on Dagobah. But basically that's how you would obviously start off the Jedi quest line on Tatooine and then go to Dagobah with Yoda and then complete the initiation. So you need to do that first, but when you are a Jedi you would press V to actually view Force powers. And then obviously at level 35, when you actually are in the mod, this is when you can actually use this Force power screen to become a Sith. That's how you would actually join the dark side in this mod. So now I want to show you some of the armor sets in game, okay? So we have the First Order Stormtrooper sets, we have the Captain gear and the normal gear. This is obviously from the new movies, from the Disney movies, as you can see. This is the Stormtrooper First Order Captain gear, and this is the normal First Trooper Order gear. Now, most of the armors in this mod won't actually work if you have a new Minecraft skin like me, because some layers of your skin will overlay over the top, so it will start to look really weird. So I would recommend having like an older skin or more outdated skin if you play this mod. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but otherwise things just kind of look strange like they shouldn't do. Then this is the Boba Fett Bounty Hunter gear. Obviously there's Bounty Hunter mobs in the mod too, and the TIE Pilot gear too. So there's tons of different suits in the game, from Stormtroopers to Jedi robes, Bounty Hunter costumes, Rebels, First Order Stormtroopers, everything across all of the various original trilogy and the sequel movies too, including all the weapons. So let's jump into some vehicles. So I'm going to spawn some land vehicles and some sky vehicles. So the first thing I'm going to spawn is the set of speeders on land. So I've shown you some of the brief speeders already. So the first one is Rey's speeder, which is obviously from The Force Awakens, which looks pretty cool. You could buy these on Tatooine. You probably saw me actually trying to purchase these earlier, and they go pretty fast. As you can see, if you press Y, it deactivates the hover mode in vehicles, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, and it makes it go a lot faster. So as you can see, we're going super fast in comparison to when we set off. We can even use Luke's land speeder from the movies too. And then there's two types of speeder bikes. There's the normal one Stormtroopers use on Endor. Even with the handles that move, that's just how well this mod's made. And the same one, but in a different coloured skin, which is actually the Hoth speeder bike, which you probably saw in the Imperial hangar a little while ago. So in this mod, there's the land vehicles, like I just showed you, and flying vehicles. Basically, flying vehicles, they hover by default, just like the land vehicles, but you can actually fire projectiles in them too. But you need flying vehicles to use the hyperdrives and go to travel to different space planets to do quests. You can't do those in land vehicles, so that's super important. And you just use the normal keyboard steering to actually move in spaceships. So you can see over here we have multiple types of TIE fighters. We have the TIE Advanced, the Bomber, the Interceptor, and the normal Starfighter. Then we have the X-Wing Starfighter and the Y-Wing Bomber, and the A-Wing Interceptor, as well as the Hoth Snowspeeder. So these are all obviously the flying vehicles. And then we have a few different carrier ships, as you can see. So we have the Rebel carrier ship, and we have the Stormtrooper carrier ship, which has all those Stormtroopers in that you might have seen in Star Wars Rebels. And this is the normal X-Wing, which we can shift and right click on with an open hand to access the star chart. And then when we get in the ship, we can press the U key and access the star chart again. And then we can use that to map a course to a different planet. So if I was obviously to get the Dagobah hyperdrive right now, because I was told to go to Dagobah as a Jedi, then I can click on Dagobah and I have the hyperdrive already, get my quest log out, and then we can program the navcom and jump into hyperspace and go straight into Dagobah. So basically the ships in the mod, they're all linked to the various factions. So depending which one you're tied to, you may not actually be able to ride the ships if you're not in creative mode. I've been in creative mode throughout this video, so I've been able to basically fly anything, but you do have to be in the right faction to fly certain ships. Obviously, if you complete the full quest lines in each faction, you'll be able to just ride any ship, but it just doesn't perform like that in survival mode if you haven't completed them. You basically have to complete the 8th quest in a faction to unlock the first ship that you can fly, and then you have to buy a quartermaster license from one of the vendors, the quartermasters, to actually fly that ship, and then the rest are unlocked as you progress further in the quest, and then you have to buy them with credits. So there's a large system of actually obtaining ships in this mod. So this is the Dagobah system. This is just loading a little bit slower because we're on Minecraft 1.7, which loads a lot slower than the newer versions like 1.12. But this is what the Dagobah system looks like. So I've shown you 3 planets, 4 including normal Minecraft Earth here, and this is where the Jedi quest line continues. So this has been my mod showcase of Parzi Star Wars mod. This mod has been slightly longer than usual. So this video has had to be longer than usual as well, because I wanted to cover all the features, and even though I didn't show everything in the video, I did touch over everything in my commentary and explain everything in depth. So hopefully now you know how to actually play this mod and you recognize all the features, because it can be kind of grueling and a little bit confusing when you first install it. But this mod's so huge that I felt like I had to make a full video on actually playing it and exploring some of its features. If you enjoyed this Minecraft mod showcase, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below why you like this mod, and also let me know in the comments what mods you want me to do a showcase on next, because usually on the channel I do top 10 videos showing 10 of the best mods of each category, so I can cover a lot more mods than this. But when there's a mod that's really special and really great, it's nice to make an individual video on it, so let me know what your favorite mods are that I should cover in a single video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.